Alright, right back into part 3. Let's start building a possibly cool explosion. Possibly could suck. Hard to say. Anyways, alright. First things first. Our first emitter, we don't want to last for no 10 seconds. It's just going to be 1 second. It's going to create a new particle each second, but we don't want that because it's constantly looping, because 0 is indefinite. So just one time, and then it should be done, and it will not play again until I tell it to loop here or I tell it to loop here. Now if I shut looping off here, it will sit here forever. You just hit spacebar to restart it anytime you want. Okay? Alright. Let's change our burst to be about 25 by 25. Now there's a lot of particles in there. A lot of cool movement going on. We like it. Okay. We want to change our, let's go ahead and shrink this some, our initial location to be a sphere. Let's try that. Now you can see that they're all appearing on a sphere. I believe there is a way to show the 3D draw mode. Okay, there is my sphere. Let's go ahead and let's go with a pretty dark color here. Okay, now my sphere's radius is too big. We will go maybe 10 by 10. Okay, so a lot of poofy explosiveness going on there. Now we don't want it to appear below the origin like it does, so we can uncheck -Z, and now they will only appear around the positive Z. We may not want to use a sphere. We may want to use a cylinder. We'll have to check it in a second, because the other thing we want to do is size by life. So if we go size, unfortunately a lot of these things are off the screen, but size, and I drop that down here, there's one called size by life. Just pick that, and then we hit the curve here. I can hide this curve, and we can do this manually. So our in value is on point 0, our in value is 0, which is the time. Out value is the actual value. Okay, and you can see that it's 1 by 1. Let's go ahead and keep this looping. And on our point 1, we can see our time is 1 and our out value is 1 by 1. Now if we go 10 by 10, you can see that we get this expanding explosion. Now our lifetime's a little long, so let's say 1 by 3, so we got some randomness. Whoa. We got a lot of real weird popping. Let's give it some velocity. That's way off the screen. Velocity, initial velocity. Fortunately, I don't know if there's a way to do this by the sphere. Let me see. I know in like 3D Studio you can say, okay, do the velocity based off of the surface. I don't necessarily think there is. I'm way down off the screen now. I'm looking at world forces and whatnot. No, it doesn't look like there is. So let's just go ahead and say like 5 by 5 by -5 by -5 by -5. You can see we got this insane popping and real weird crap going on as things are disappearing. Our color over life, let's get rid of these curves. We actually want our alpha here set value to be 0. Okay, now we should get rid of most of that, but not entirely. Let's give ourselves a little bit more Z speed, so it goes up a little bit more. And we definitely don't want to go down. Okay, that weird thing is sometimes it'll play twice. Now our size by life, we actually want it to not start out as big. This is actually, let's say 0. So it grows a little bit better. These are all on the same axis. Now, the draw sort mode here has to do with how this thing can pop out. Now you can see by going distance to view that the particles that are closer to me will draw in front of the ones that aren't as close to me. Okay, now let's vary the size some. Let's just set our min by 1 to 1. And let's mess with our, let's zoom our alpha over life here. Let's hold control and we can add a new point. And let's say we only want it to fade out near the end. So, and then it fades out at the end. So it's pretty much solid. And maybe in the beginning, oops, we want it to, I want this point here to be a curve. I want it to ramp up so it doesn't start off completely white. Kind of fades in just for a second. Alright, let's make our sphere a little bigger. That helps break it up some. It's going to be a pretty big explosion. Okay, let's try turning that off, and they should all show up from the same exact spot. Let's try a cylinder. Go location, cylinder, and same thing. Let's get our sphere and turn off our 3D draw mode, and let's turn on the 3D draw mode for our cylinder. Okay. Again, let's knock out the negative Z. That might be a little bit better in terms of its initial location. It does kind of seem like we're generating like a 50,000 explosions all over the place. So let's go ahead and knock that out and start from the beginning. From the center point. I think that might be better. Let's align our thing. Now the other thing is we can make the fire last a little bit longer. And the way to do that, let's zoom this, would be to turn this to a curve and increase the duration of the fire by making the curve last longer, lower. You can see that our fire's lasting a lot longer, but maybe we don't want it to be that long. Alright, let's break it up a little bit more. Rotation, it's down off the screen, initial rotation. I just like to go -1 by 1. That means it allows for full 360 rotation, even though 0 to 1 would technically be the same thing. I think our lifetime is a little long too, probably, let's say maybe 0.25 to 1.5. That's too dramatic of a difference, so let's go 0.8 to 1.2. And that's probably a little too short, so 1.6 to 1.8. Initial size, I think we have too much variation. And let's edit our size by life. So let's just remove all the curves. And we will pick this by auto. Zoom in. Now actually we want this, our distribution, to be uniform curve, I think. And we need to add points. So point 1 is 0, and I don't know what this value 2 shit is. Let's see. Yeah, I was hoping to just to mess with the x, so the hell with it. We'll just do it like that. Out value needs to be 1 because that's our time, and we'll just go say 5 by 5 by 5. You see it get bigger. All right, now we're only messing with the x. Now if I make this big, you can see it starts big and then gets smaller. It's not exactly what we want, so we're going to start at 0, set the time to 0, and we'll make it a curve like that, and we'll start real big, and we'll let it actually overblow it just a little bit, so at the end it kind of consolidates. Alright, let's get our velocity going up a little bit higher. Let's try drastic. -10, -10, and 0. Probably lifetime needs to go up a little bit. I'm thinking, yeah, 3.2, 3.2 to 3.6. And let's increase our scale over life a little bit faster. Size by life, go up. Pretty big explosion. It's kind of what we want. And let's hit control here and pull that down because I don't want it to be that big. And we'll make it happen, oops, a little bit faster, like that. There we go. Whoosh. And it comes kind of too abrupt of a halt. Okay, our fire now is actually lasting too long. There we go. So fire goes away pretty quick, and then we kind of hang on the smoke for a little while. We don't want too much fire for too long. Okay. Remove all the curves. Let's go to color over life, and let's do our color here. So at the start, let's see what happens if we go 10 by 10 by 10. So we get real hot and then we fade out. So whoosh, and that turns black. And that's looking a lot better. Alright, now we need a little rotation. Rotation rate. Now, and again, I'm off the screen. I apologize. There is really not a whole hell of a lot I can do about that unless I do something like this. Rotation over life. And let's drop this down. Actually, no, I don't want rotation over life. Delete module. I want rotation rate over life. Okay. So at the beginning, it's 1. and at the end it's 1. So how about at the beginning it's 10? Okay, this isn't going to do any kind of work until we actually add rotation rate, initial rotation rate. Let's put that above rotation over life, and let's go negative 0.1 by 0.1. Now we've dramatized it here. You see it starts and then it stops. Okay, but let's multiply that a little bit. There we go. So whatever this value ends up as, whether or not it be positive or negative, from negative 0.1 to 0.1, over life, it will, if I show this curve, by hitting the dumb curve here, you can see that it does slow down and stop. So the fire's got low rotation, but the smoke doesn't. But what I want to do is knock that out a little faster, something like that. And actually, let's let it never fully stop, because it looks a little unnatural. We don't want anything to look like it's coming to a screeching halt. That's a little better. So it keeps rotating. Alright, it's getting better. Okay, acceleration. This is a fun one. Z, -5, and -5. Now, these values are a little strange. -90 by -90, you can see that that brings the smoke down. Let's not show the grid. It goes down. So let's go max of 10 and a min of 5. And then now our smoke starts to rise. Now acceleration is much better than velocity over time because it is acceleration. You know, it starts, this is how much speed it adds per frame, so it's going to be a lot more natural. So now our smoke gets a little risey. But we can add on top of that velocity over life. I know that went off the screen. And the kind I believe we want vector constant curve, and we'll add 2 points. So we want it to be 1 by 1 by 1 at frame 0, and at the end we want the z's to still be 1, but we want it to go by 1. A little bit faster outwards near the end. Let's just go crazy so we can see what that does. It should spread out. Let's see what our initial velocity is actually at. 5.5 and that. Let's see, let's dramatize this like way more. Let's see, it should start off low and then it should expand outwards faster and faster. There you go. So it goes and then whoosh as it comes out. All right, let's see if we can't. Oldest first isn't actually really going to work for us, or newest too well. If I'm looking at it from the top, well, it's not too bad. The thing is, with a burst, you can see I got 25 particles here. Now I can actually make this random, so it's like 25 to 10. So I got 16 on that one, 22 on that one, 11, 10, 13. So it's random. So each explosion isn't going to have as much or as little. And we can say that it takes let's just say if it takes 5 seconds. Let's see what that does. I think that's my let's say 1 second. I don't even know what time does. I thought this meant, oh, it bursts out over this much time, but that would be the same as just doing a constant birth rate. Okay, I think our acceleration might be a little high. I don't necessarily want all the smoke to totally leave the ground. Not all of it, anyway. I want a good majority of it to leave the ground, but I want to leave some left behind. So some of the particles shouldn't end up going up at all. And we can fix that by doing velocity, initial velocity. Our maximum z is 0. So now a few of the particles will still be below the ground. We never really lose our form. However, we're not even remotely close to done yet. So a lot more fun to be had, I think. So this is our main burst, our boom, and then a bunch of smoke goes fluting all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this emitter, and we're going to duplicate it. Now we got twice as much smoke, but it's doing the exact same thing. So what we're going to do here, let's turn this guy off. We're going to just make smoke. So the first thing we want to do is let's remove all these curves and show our sub-image index and bring it up here. We don't want to see any fire, so we're going to drag our first frame up. That's a little too much fire. That's still a little fire in there. You can see that the animation is reversing. Don't want that, so keep a constant curve there. Keep that pretty linear. And I'm seeing a little too much fire, so let's say 16. There's really no fire there at all. Now this one, we don't want to burst. We're just going to remove the burst list, and we're going to pour out a constant 20 frames. Now our duration, we want to go for about 15 seconds. That's how much smoke we want. And you can see we're ending up with quite a bit of smoke here. Our lifetime needs to be quite a bit higher. We don't want to go too crazy, but let's just say 8 to 10 seconds. Now we're going to be pouring out smoke. And we want quite a bit more acceleration now. We want this to rise pretty good. So let's say 20 and a minimum of 5. And you can see, look, we're like 180 particles. It's way too many for a game until we get into Unreal Engine 4. Please make UDK 4. I will love you forever if I can have 1,000,000 particles. Okay, so let's see what we end up with total. Still counting up. Still counting up. Looks like about 40 or so. And then it's done. Alright, let's get a little bit more uniform acceleration going on here because it's breaking up too much. So let's go, 20 might be a little drastic, so let's go 15 by 15 so it's totally uniform. Our rotation will serve to do And now we need to change our sort order here to try to not have any poofage. Let's get our velocity, initial velocity here, to not really have anything. Well, we'll just go like 1 by 1 by negative 1 by negative 1, so we don't have too much left and right movement. We want pretty much a column of smoke to come straight up. Now our color over life, our alpha over life, we want to start at 0 and let's remove a curve and set the time on this one to be halfway through, and let's go ahead and just only show that curve and scale it. Okay, you can see that we're going over 1. That's not a good idea ever on alpha. Okay, a lot more fadey coming in. Start it over. Our size by life is a little exaggerated. We don't want that. Let's only show the X here and scale it in again. Let's go ahead and delete that key and get a little bit more, a little bit closer to linear there, but not fully linear. Okay. You can see now we've got pretty separated smoke. So our initial size can be a little bit larger and a little bit more uniform. So let's just even that out some. Still a little small. We don't want 0 in the beginning. Let's just boost that up to about like that. And let's let it get a little bit larger. And our alpha over life, let's not really ever let it hit 1. So we get a little bit more of a blend in there. Okay, it's not bad. Now our color over life, show that. We don't really want it to be all crazy bright. So what we can do is set color here to be pretty dark and hit OK. Now this is probably gonna sometimes, yeah, it closes UDK, and I don't understand why it does that. So then we get our color pretty black. There's no way to grab all of these and move them. You see how it separates them? It's pretty frustrating. I thought there was a way to just grab them all, like you know, Control Alt, you just grab them like that. But if we do it here, I thought there was a way to say, like, lock the X, Y, and Z. Maybe that does it. There we go. All right, so a little bit white in the beginning. Maybe we can, actually, let's not, now that we've done that, let's not lock it. Well, that's dumb. Okay, let's change our color to, okay, let's grab our green here in 0.5. Wait, am I on color over life? Is that the alpha? I was looking at the alpha. Okay, so it goes 0.0, there's 0.1. So it goes to, should actually go to black at the end. But we want it to kind of start orange. This is XYZ is RGB. So if we go 0.33 here, we should get a little green here. Let's drop the red some. Let's not show the blue. And we'll make it a little orangey. Okay. roughly half the, a little bit less than half the red, whatever the red is. So we get some orange fire that goes to black as it rises. Now let's take a look at our profile here, and let's look at our size by life, and I believe that's here. Now this should, if you watch closely, which is interesting, I like this, whatever this profile curve is should actually end up being the profile curve that you have here. You see, we get real big. We can even shrink. We gotta restart it. So if I make this bigger at the end, you should see I can make like a funnel, but you don't want to go too drastic to break anything up. You want to make sure that we're connected at all moments. That's really not too bad. Now let's play them together and see what we're looking at. Alright, let's have our order here reversed. I think you can do that. Thought you could do that. Get off here. Ah! Turd! Okay, you know what? While I'm at it, save this. I'm going to pause while. Alright. Should be good. These are like drawing in a certain order. I thought there was a way to move them over. I do know I can do this, which is a dumb cheat. Duplicate that and then delete that. Definitely too red. Need to desaturate that a little bit. But I do want a little bit of color in there. Now the smoke is drawing in front of the fire, which I want the fire to draw in front of the smoke. So let's see if we do that one by view projection depth. Distance to view. See if we do that to both of them. See, I don't like what that does to the smoke. I end up with these. I mean, with the. Okay, yeah, wait, this is the fire, right? Let's go ahead and rename it. We'll call this Fireball, and we'll rename this one Smoke. Yeah, I'm not liking the view projection depth on this one. I like oldest first. It still doesn't let me drag over. It drives me nuts. Alright, well anyways, let's just say we're okay with that. I think that the initial size of the smoke can be a little bit bigger. Will match a little bit better with the explosion. You get pretty pretty robust amount of smoke, so let's maybe spawn a few less particles. Let's change this to a float uniform. So we get about 5 by 3. So, and let's limit our number of particles here to 30, so we never ever go over that number, no matter what. Max draw count there. And just for fun, if you wanted to make this like way more rich, you can say like 150 by 150, and whoa, yeah, 150 particles exactly. It's pretty rich, but it doesn't really actually do anything. Now, if we get 1 in there, it's gonna look pretty dumpy, I think. Pretty small and weeny, but this does give us, you know, a little bit more dynamics in the shape. The more we have, the more circular we end up with our initial explosion. So I definitely don't ever want to have 1. It's not too bad. Alright, let's add some more fun stuff. But before we do that, let's take a look and see all this crazy popping that we're getting. That is upsetting. At about... How come I'm not there? It's kind of popping there. I saw 1 there. I was doing it earlier like crazy. It's getting worse. Let's see if that fixes anything. Yeah. Our alpha is not terminating at 0. Let's check our sub-image index here. Let's remove all these curves. Yes. And zoom it. Set value should never go over 31. Value here is 16, so it's not our sub-image index, so we can remove that curve. Let's check our color over life. And set value 0. Oh, you know what it is? It's our limit. So, because we set our limit to 30, as soon as you can see that the way that our particle system is set up, given our duration of our emitter itself versus our spawn rate, that it will actually, based on those two values, it will produce more than 30 particles. You can see we set that to 30. So once it says, okay, well, I've got 30 and I'm going to draw a new one, instead of not drawing the new one, it deletes the oldest one. And that's why at the end, once this goes up to 30, you can see I'm getting a bunch of them popping out. So what I can do is simply lower the spawn rate by, let's say, 3.8 or 3.5 or 3 or 1 by 2. Still wants to do 31 there. And a lot of that is based on, let's say, like, you know, like 1 by 1. 21. Max 2. I had these opposite, by the way. Max of 3. Minimum of 2. Okay, 31. So let's go ahead and change this to be 31. And we should have removed that popping. Let's just check the whole life. I think we're good. And they all feed out. Alright. Smoke might be a little bit hard-edged. If we really wanted to, we could blur the alpha channel or fuzz it out some other way. It'd be nice if there was a blur value here, but we're okay for now. Alright, let's get rid of the smoke because I don't want to play with that yet, or right now. Let's add a new particle sprite emitter. And let's hide our thing. Okay, now what we've got here is a new emitter. And what I'm going to do is not spawn any like that. I'm going to spawn a burst from 5 to, let's say, 3. Okay, just burst. I don't want this to ever loop. Okay, if I turn off looping, you can see I get the short grid. So there's 4, there's 3, there's 5, there's 3, there's 4, there's 3, there's 5. Okay. So a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5. If you look at this, so we got total max of 5, minimum of 3. For some reason it's allocating extra particles, I suppose. Why the max is 6 there doesn't really make any sense. But anyways, let's boost our velocity here tremendously. Let's go like 50 by 50 by 350 and negative 50 by negative 50 by 275. Okay. You can see they're going off into the universe. Goodbye, goodbye. Alright, we'll add acceleration. And our acceleration is going to be a vector constant. We just want really one number, z. If we go 50, it's going to get faster and faster, but if we go negative 50, I think, or negative 500, there we go. Now they go up and they come back down. Our lifetime is not enough. We're gonna make these last about 6 seconds. So anywhere from 5 to 6 seconds. And then you can see they go back down through the ground. And they fall all the way down. Not good. However, if we go view, show geometry, and then we show geometry properties, we get this window over here. Now what we want to do is move this down like negative 30 or negative 50. We'll move it over 50, and let's just go negative 150. Okay, we'll move it over a little bit more. I really wish instead of, view geometry, you could say view plane here, because this geometry is weird. You always have to do this. So negative 200, okay. I want to hit this flat part. So let's go 150 over here, 250, 350. Alright. So there's some geometry. Now we don't need to see. And let's go negative 150. Negative 175. Just below our surface there. Maybe let's drag that up just a little bit like that. Okay, so pretty close to our plane. You can see our particles now. Poof out. Alright. Collision. Vector constant. Maximum number of collisions is somewhere in here. Max collisions. Min of 1, max of 1. Now what it does is once it's reached this number of collisions, it deletes itself. So if we go max of 3, you can see that they hit and then they disappear. Now there's damping factors and other crap in here that is real kind of weird. Collision completion. If you freeze it, it'll last its whole life. Okay, it just kind of stops. And then they stop. Okay. Particle mass. I don't really know what that does. But let's kill them when they're done. And what we need, damping factor. There we go. Boing, boing, boing. So we want it to retain about 50% of its movement after it hits. So that gives us a little bounce. Let's show our explosion. Let's go ahead and crank up the velocities here. Say 100 by 100 by, let's see, 600 by negative 100 by negative 100 by, let's say, 450. All right. Pretty cool, but not cool enough. New particle sprite emitter. Actually, let's delete that guy. Let's take our smoke and duplicator. Now you can see we need to move over here a little bit. And I wish I could, I forgot how to move these over. Thought you could just drag them. I really did. Okay. What we're going to do is location emitter init location. Hopefully that's on the screen. I believe it is. We are going to call this emitter here debris. And over here, emit emitter location, we're going to tell it to use debris. Wait, actually I think I just my emitter name. See, I think, okay, here, let's, it's not working. Let's just test and see if this is doing anything. This is our pink. It's really not spawning anything. Alright, turn off our smoke. I don't know why this is. I think this is not working because it's coming before this emitter. So let's just delete this turd. Let's add a new one. And let's try the init location. Location, emitter init location. And the emitter name will be debris. There it goes. Yeah, it's because it comes coming after it. Okay, so let's just copy over some settings here. Let's get our material. And I think if we go like this, we can say control and move it over. And I think we can actually replace that. There we go. Alright, so now you can see we got smoke poofs coming over. But let's use our fires subindex. Just replace it. And we get rid of that first one. Let's take a look at what we're getting here. Okay, it didn't work. Set value 0. There we go. Now we got some fire. Okay. I believe there's a thing called spawn. It's down. And spawn per unit. And what we do is the scalar to apply to the distance traveled. Now that didn't do anything. There's a way to scale it up based on how fast it's going. Now this needs to, let's see how long. These are lasting 5 to 6 seconds, so our emitter duration needs to be a maximum of 5 seconds so that it doesn't, because once these are dead, if it doesn't have anything to spawn from, it'll spawn them from the center. You can see that there. So, and these lifetimes are 5 to 6, and I believe that it's a burst. Oops. 5 to 3, lifetime should be 5 to 6. It would be a maximum of 6 seconds. So this math should work out, but I don't think it is, because I think the number of bounces is killing them. So here we go. So make sure those die. Make sure this emitter dies before these particles die. So we don't want that fire to come out from the start. Alright, let's see if we can't figure this one out. Movement tolerance 1. Let's check our maximum number. Okay, we actually want that to be 500 so that it can spawn a ton more. And unit scalar 500. It's really not doing anything. 1, 5. Hello. North spawn rate when moving. Max frame distance. Maximum valid for 0, then the check is not performed. I just want to see if there's another thingy that I'm missing. I thought it was the spawn per unit. So I don't see any other rate thing here. I did this once before. Let me do a little research for a second. Okay, well, this was the right setting. I don't know why this isn't working. The thing is when I used this, I had it attached to some physical debris, like that was being spawned through Kismet, and out in the world it seemed to work properly. But here, it's really not working based on this here, so let's go ahead and let our minimum height here not be so high. I mean, the one way to fix it would be to just say, hey, 500. You can see we get quite a few particles, and only the point is to make it so that only when the things are moving fast does it spawn a lot of them. So right now it's going to spawn 500 even if these come to a pretty good stop. So let's say we like dampen the crap out of it. Then they're going to hit their max bounce limit. But if we tell it to freeze, so he's going to keep spawning them like crazy there, and where they're sitting. Let's just halt. Freeze translation. Oh, freeze movement. I don't know why the hell they're like snapping over to a new spot. It's weird. If I hold collisions, they'll bounce a couple times and then they'll fall through. That's not what I want. Freeze rotation is not what I want. I just want to freeze them. Let's apply physics. If true, physics will be applied between a particle and the object collides with. Oh, well, this will actually knock physics objects out of the way. Are these still like making weird snapovers? Yeah, what the frick? Boing, boing, boing. It's too much. You see what I'm getting at, but I really wish this spawn per unit thing worked. Yeah, why do the hell are these like doing that? Like they stop and then they flip over. That's freaking weird. Shouldn't do that. Maybe because the mass is too insane? No, they're still doing it. Only vertical normals decrement count. Yeah, that way if it bounces off a wall, that doesn't count as a bounce. Vertical fudge factor. Oh, that's just kind of like anything nearly vertical will still count. So if I go 0, the ones that land on here won't count as collisions actually, I don't think. I still counted it. Still stopped bouncing. 1? Alright. Let's try that. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know why they're snapping over like that. That's kind of irritating, but let's just go ahead and dial this down a little bit. Say like 300. And our lifetime's pretty short, but let's have these be like the chance to be a little bit bigger. So there. Nah, I don't like that at all. So 25, 25. Let's give them a chance to be a little bit smaller. I think our vertical height it's not bad, I don't mind it. But let's say negative 980. There, that doesn't go up as high. It's a little bit more like real world 9.8. It's like it seemed to be multiplied by 100 there. You can see those collisions didn't really count. Okay, so on collision we'll just kill it because I don't like that little shift. That's hell's aggravating. And now that we're not going up as high, sequential? I wish there was a way to say what to do when you don't have any more source left. See how this inherits the source velocity? It's really definitely not what you want. Alright, let's get some size over life. I'm about out of time. Size by life. Just get rid of all these curves. And pop, pop, pop. Let's make them a little bigger. Restart that so they set value to like 10. That was probably insane. Yeah, it's not good. So now we can dial that down some. So maybe like 3. Yeah, we can actually lower our spawn rate to like 10. And it's all poofy and stupid. It's a little better. Could make our lifetime a little bit longer, like 3 to 3.2 or so. Still a little separated for my tastes. So we can tune that by giving ourselves a little less acceleration, but also so we kind of pull them together so that it's less acceleration, but it's also less vertical velocity. Okay, subimage index here. Let's say we're going to start at about frame 6. It's looking a little better. Now we will see this stupid crosshair. So what we need to do is come to our materials here and let's just create a new material, and we'll call this FX particle blank. Okay, and let's just go here, and emissive is 0, and so is our opacity. Now we need this to be unlit, and we need this to be translucent, or actually let's just go additive, and it'll add nothing to it, and let's just make sure it's used with particle sprites. Okay. So basically an invisible material. And now we can add that. And you can see now our debris contrails are, and we can always kind of, we just say like I am, more of a trail. But we don't want to go too crazy with the particles because it'll get kind of laggy, you know, or not draw them, especially if 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 explosions go off at the same time. So it's a bit of I was just doing this for fun, but it can be used. It's definitely cool. See that happen like that. Actually, you know what? Our initial velocity on this guy needs to be 0. There you go. Let's give it like a little bit of variation. And let's actually accelerate it. Vector constant by 5, so it does rise. And lifetime, let's get a little bit more random in there. Yeah, it looks better. And we're only using about I don't know, about 200 particles. Pretty fun. And lastly, I just want to show you one thing. I'm going to call this pretty okay. It's not great, it's a little cartoony obviously, but you can see the kinds of cool things you can do with it. You get a better fireball, you get a lot more different materials going on in there, and you can do some pretty interesting stuff. You can see now that we end up with that. We still end up with that generating in the beginning, so let's just go ahead and go 2 by 1, so it's dies away. Let's change our maximum collisions to 0. No, let's just say like 10, so it'll just keep going. That way the lifetime of the particle is what causes that. That pretty much gives it enough time to hit the ground. And it's very cool. So you get these flaming debris pieces that go flying off. Alright, the last thing I want to show you before I end this whole series, let's just go ahead and save that, because we say we're happy with it. Again, there's a trillion things you can do to fix it, or change it, make it completely different, depends on what you like. You can see, I'll just open up a few others here and show some examples. This was roughly the same effect, completely different style of fire, but same overall. I don't have collision driving any of this, but it's the same overall. You can see for the contrail, you pretty much can't get away with not using a lot of particles. It's really tough. That's just a material. Where am I here? Particles. Here's a bug splatter using the same exact thing. Let's not show geometry, show the grid. So using a sub UV on some sprayish stuff. Same exact theory, just not using FumeFX. I got like a burner fire here. That's using sub UV, same thing. It's for like a kind of a Bunsen burner. Some of these came out like total crap. Like that sucks. I do like how it comes up real tall and then poofs out, but it's very abrupt. Didn't look good at all. A few of these don't use very many. This one, the fire, I think lasts way too long. Obviously, these are all like experiments. You can also spawn just regular debris, like these little rock things. And this one is using physics. However, you do not have to use physics, and you do not have to use physics in order to get the particles to collide a la Borderlands 2's debris. You can still walk around and kick those particles. So here's another explosion, same general concept, just no real contrails or debris. Sends one poof up. Same thing. There's another one that I did. It's not an explosion, and I wanted to show it to you because it's a good thing to know how to do. Here we go, bathroom drip. Instead of just recreate it, You can see here that I've got this water drip. Where is it? Set it to looping, and it goes down. Now what I've done here is there's an event receiver and there's an event generator, and if I show the geometry, let's just spawn a few more of these in the spawn list to make sure one happens. You can see that when it hits is when it spawns. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell. Let me see if I can if I clear that, there's the square, and if I clear that, when it hits it will create more. So you do that here, you generate a collision just like I did, and then you create an event generator based on type collision, and you believe you have to name it, custom name hit. Event receiver spawn, you now tell it the event name hit. Event type any, you can tell it collision, it should still work. Okay, so you can generate these collision events and then spawn. So instead of trying to time a drip with a splash, which sucks balls because you can't say put this drip like outside, that's and it's gonna fall for, you know, like 100 meters. So like what I can do is say, okay, the lifetime of this can be really high. Let's just say I can make this, 500 seconds, but on collision, on the very first collision, it will kill it. So as long as it hits something, it'll die, and I don't have to worry about how long it lasts. And now I can say this drip's gonna, drop from the top of the Empire State Building and hit the cement. Or I can say this is coming out of a faucet and hit the sink, which is just an inch away, a couple inches away, and then I can use this receiver, event receiver spawn, and it, same thing, it kind of overrides your spawn count here, and you can use that to generate drips, and it's really cool and really handy because, like I said, it's really dynamic. You can place this at any height in your geometry, and it'll just keep falling and falling, and once it hits, it will splash. No more timing, no more generating, one particle event for, particle emitter for every different situation that you need. If you need pipes that are dripping from the ceiling, they can fall 10 meters and then splash. If you need them, right at the end of a, anything else, they can fall 1 meter, splash, and it'll be fully dynamic, and it will hit the geometry, and I believe it will hit the player's collision objects too. So it's pretty cool. So alright, hopefully you enjoyed this and learned some stuff in UDK and FumeFX, and it wasn't too long-winded. I know my tutorials go for a long time. I do prefer to work that way. If you guys would rather me break them up into shorter parts, let me know. And this is Hippos signing off.